and then but you don't talk about it, you just don't have it, and then it deteriorates your relationship. And then the kids are out, but now you have your career, and maybe you went back to school, and then you're busy all the time. And then again, you didn't have time. So the point is that things change, and I think that what we're seeing is that a lot of people don't have, and in our relationship, I mean, it happens where the hardest thing is to sit down and actually have an honest conversation. Like, hey, I'm at this point, or hey, this has changed. Can we talk about it? And not talk about it and accuse, the other person of, hey, you're not into sex. I need more. You don't want it, but just discuss it. So that's why I think that's the interesting part of, and what people really have a hard time getting through is, how do I talk to my partner? Is if I'm ahead of them and I'm understanding that something's not working and I want to sit them down and talk about it, how do I do it? And then maybe it's in their joint conversation that that the path kind of reveals itself, or they think and talk about it. Where do we want to go from there? But the actual sitting down and talking, that's the hard part. Tina's excellent at it.
Yeah, I'm nerdy, but I know how hard it is to have that conversation, especially when you've never had the conversation. If you've never had it early because you didn't want to rock the boat, or things were just so good that you didn't need to have the conversation, and then later on when it's hard, but you got a system that's a routine, you guys don't have it, and whenever anyone tries to have a conversation about things sensitive, everyone takes a stance, and it's like a fighting stance.
Oh, it's a defense. Like, you get defensive. You and I get defensive.
Yeah, and so it's really hard to have that conversation where everyone's being heard, everyone's giving each other space to be heard, without defensive or firing shots. Like, why are you asking? What are you doing? How do you feel about it? And everyone's kind of afraid to speak on it. So so that's definitely a launching point. Assuming.
All right. So how do we help people go through it?
Well, okay, so the bridge between the monogamy episode and this episode, if you're in a relationship, would be having a conversation with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Don't try to avoid feeling guilty or feeling shameful for maybe not being completely happy in your relationship. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very hard to be with one person that can provide the stability, the predictability, the structure, and at the same time be spontaneous, be adventurous, and these things. And that's the balance, is that a steady relationship is about security, but there's nothing less sexier than extreme
routine.
Security and routine.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah.
So desire, on the other hand, is something that's spontaneous, adventurous, different, unexpected, and it's hard to get all of that from one person. So it takes a lot of bravery to have the conversation. So the first thing is to allow yourself the space to think, am I really happy in my relationship?
And there's nothing wrong with being unhappy. I can guarantee you that your partner is not happy all the time either. So it's kind of like, assuming that you're supposed to be happy all the time is a really bad assumption that leads to these fears of talking to the other person and letting them know, hey, you know what, I'm kind of not excited at the moment.
Right. And it's avoiding absolutes, because absolutes make it really hard to have any nuance or growth. So you can very much be very happy with the overall status of your relationship, of family or whatever, but not be happy in the passion department, and not be happy in the desire department. It doesn't mean your whole relationship is bad. It just means maybe there's certain areas that have been neglected, or maybe we need to upgrade. We need to discuss new ways to do these things. But first, allow yourself that conversation within yourself, and to be honest, hey, I could use more time away, or I could use more interaction with other people, or I could use more sex, or I could use more passion. And then once you have that conversation with yourself, then try to have that conversation with your partner. And it may not be easy because at first they're going to come at you like, why are you asking now? Or what is it?
What if they go, hey, me too?
Right. That, that can be the best and the worst case scenario depending on your personal levels of insecurity. But it's the breaking the ice. Once you guys can have that conversation, then you can get to that point to where you first identify that you guys both still love each other and you love the companionship and things. And there are certain things you would like to...
And you're not looking to go anywhere.
Right. You're not looking to leave them.
to break the relationship. But just like if your business is not working well, then you probably will sit down with your partners and go through the numbers and go, hey, this is not working. We need to change something. You're not sitting down to tell them, listen, this is not working. I'm out. I mean, there are times when you would do that, but normally it's not the first go. It's not the first sign of business not doing what you thought it was going to do. You don't run in and just, throw the hat in and go, okay, I'm out. You try and fix it. You try sitting down and going, well, let's scratch our heads and see what we can do here. And then a lot of the times you make changes and lo and behold, things work.
Yeah. And you run a diagnostic, right? You have honest analysis of like, okay, we're performing extremely well in the family department. Our kids are good, the structure is good, we're performing well over here. This side of the business over here, we're not doing too good in this market or with this product. AKA, we're not doing as good as stoking each other's flames as right now, or we're not doing as good as changing up our routine so that way we can really spend that time with each other. And then you separate the issue, so it's not this issue means the whole relationship's bad. It just means this part of our business we need to think about some different things and rebrand it.
Right, and then you go into it as partners, not as adversaries.
Right.
I think we've heard, like Tion and I have heard from different people. She will not understand or he will not understand. Right. So even when you're thinking about needing to talk to your partner, you're already positioning yourself as an adversary and not as a partner, versus, hey, you know what, this is logical. I think there's a problem. Let me go talk to my partners, and just taking that adversarial position will most likely break the relationship.
Right, or keep it in that weird spiral of just, reactionary stuff. And so, when you guys get together, if you do get to that point, first have the conversation about the good things about each other. Explain what, you guys, just take some time to enjoy each other and talk about what you enjoy. Give thanks for that. And
hey, guess what? That's where actual vows that you wrote would have come in handy.
Right.
When Tion and I hit some hard spot, I swear to God, he listens to our vows and I listen to our vows, and we go, yep, still there. And if you didn't write your vows, you got nothing to fall back on. I mean, if you did, you sit down, you go, okay, these are our vows. We're still living by them. We just need to fix whatever it is that is not working.
Right.
But the vows are there, no one's running anywhere, and that completely changes the conversation.
Right. And you guys can remind each other, like, we're on the same team. We have each other's best interest in mind. And it's, so you go there. So that would be the first step. And then, just having the conversation. And it's hard because it triggers there's a lot of insecurities in that space when it comes to passion, desire, sexuality, feeling of rejection, feeling of incompetence. All these things get triggered when someone brings up a dissatisfaction with something that you're involved with. And it's hard to sit with those without reacting and just trying to just get out of that situation as soon as possible, or projecting your fears and your pains on someone else. And that's a big part, is that you have to be willing to own those. You don't have to pretend they don't exist, but you can't let them rule the session, because they're going to come up. If your partner says, hey, just so you know, like, I love you, but our sex is not really that great anymore. We don't really take the time. It's just, it's going through the motions. for a man, rejection is a huge thing. It's a very big thing. And so if a man hears that, they may already start thinking either I'm not good enough, or is she sleeping with somebody, or what's her problem? As opposed to being like, oh, continue. Because if she continues, she may just explain like, we just don't do the things that we used to do.
Right.
You're doing your work and you're busy and you're doing your thing, and I respect and love it, and it's needed for the family, but it does leave out the time for us to really get each other feeling good, feeling desired. Like a lot of people we talk to, they don't feel desired. They don't feel wanted by their partner. They feel loved by them. Like, I know they love me, but they don't desire them.
Well, and that, our lives are so busy and we have so many demands on us that you gotta be a superhuman to, maintain a full-time job, maintain a house, take care of the kids, maybe go to school at night, and also stay, sexy through the whole day and the whole week, and be ready to have sex whenever there's time. It's hard. It's not easy. And then, most people will think of it like as, hey, I don't want it to be work. I want it to be spontaneous. I want it to be how it used to be. Well, guess what? Things have changed.
Right. You might have to plan that spontaneity. Also, going back to the last episode, it's very hard to expect all of these things from one person.
Yeah.
So if you're going to choose that route, then you have to be super duper human, because you have to still find a way to be the structure, to be the pillar, to be the security, to be the consistency, to be the routine, and be the spontaneity, the random, the desire-filled space.
And even then, it's still not enough. And even then, for some people it probably is. For others, even then it's not enough, because it's not, then it's okay, well then, I'm with the same person for 20 years.
Yeah.
Can I not get something else?
Right.
And, I think that it's a myth to think that men are the ones that want to go and, have sex with other people. Women get bored with the sex that they're supposed to have. I can guarantee you that most women in marriages dream about somebody else, because that's how it is. Like, how can one person be so exciting continuously for so many years, day in and day out?
Yeah. And it's
crazy.
And it's also the part of men just like sex. We can just have sex unattached from things. Women tend to need a little bit more creativity, a little bit more desire. The foreplay starts long before the bedroom,
right.
So a man can just fall into it. And so the woman will lose interest because, it's just not that way. So this leads us into this episode is, what happens even if the sex is amazing with your partner, and it's not enough? What if it's not even about sex? And the reality is, a lot of the reasons why people choose to create a different style of relationship is not just for sex. A lot of times it's rarely sex. Sex is just one of the core chains that we're locked in, that we can't do, that we need to break through. So it's very symbolic of breaking the chains of writing your own thing, is having the freedom to choose to have sex with more than one person. But a lot of times it's just a desire for the world, variety, different. We know different people bring out different things in us. And so if that's where, if that's for you, then this episode is for you, because it's the analogy I would use is like, for example, I love the Bay Area. I'm born and raised in the Bay Area. If I was forced to only live in the Bay Area and never leave, it would change my relationship with the Bay Area. I would yearn for other places. I would yearn for Arizona and yearn for Wisconsin. But since I'm not monogamously obligated to only like and live in the Bay Area, I can travel to other places and see beautiful places, see Brazil, see Europe, see Australia. And you know what it does? It really adds an appreciation for the Bay Area. It makes me love the Bay Area even more.
But then, there are people that want to live in Arizona and never want to leave it, and they're happy with it.
and then they stop listening to this
Right.
because they're in the monogamy episode.
Exactly.
There's nothing is for everybody. That's what we're trying to say. So if monogamy is not for you, you're not abnormal. It's not a default. It's not a mandate. That's what we're trying to say. So we'll get into other things. So some of the things that we're trying to free up when we leave that monogamous space is we want to be able to write our own vows, write our own script. We want to be able to create our own way and have that be determined, refined, and amended depending on the relationship chemistry and the dynamics. Because every person you meet, you guys are going to have a different chemistry. You're going to have a different balance. And most of the time, one default is not going to fit every type of relationship. Think of all the different friendships you have, not sexual, but just think of all the different friends you have. Like, they're all very different. Some you kick it with for short periods of time and you have a great time. Some you have long conversations with. Some you only do physical activities with. Some you work with. But they're all very different. Imagine if you tried to treat everyone exactly the same. There would be no surprise that some of them would fail because they wouldn't fit in that box. So also what it is you like that balance of structure and security, but you do like staying on your toes. You like to grow. You like new concepts. You like learning new things. You like that idea that there's a lot in the world that you haven't seen and haven't learned. So we're about that. And most importantly, you are ready to have freedom of decision making. You no longer want to be in a situation where your decisions about what's right for you and your ability to hold commitments is micromanaged by somebody else.
I'd say that that's the number one and maybe the only reason why I'm in a relationship like this with you. Because clearly I can't even follow your script of the show.
Yeah, clearly.
Clearly.
And you know what?
What? It's okay.
Totally okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Until we stop filming, and then I'll put the talcum powder on, get the backhand out, and be like, "I told you."
Well, that's a different episode.
that's the next one.
Yeah.
The sex episode. It's role playing. It's role playing.
Hey,
I do not.
We are a mixed couple in Walnut Creek.
Yeah, I don't know what that has to do with it, but I'm just saying, I don't backhand my wife unless she begs. It's role playing. All right. But so yeah, this is the land you want to come into, a land of freedom of decision, trust. You want to be trusted.